Welcome back. We're here now with Michael Dawkins, a student who just returned from studying abroad in Egypt, and he was there during the protests. So we are going to be asking him some questions about what that was like. Good evening, Michael.
Hi, how are you?
Michael, my first question is, the protests built up over about a week at the end of January. Were you aware of them from the very beginning?
Well, yeah, I was actually living in Alexandria, but I went to Cairo to visit a friend. She was having a birthday party. And we were sort of joking about the protests because this is a regime that had been in power for about 33 years. And there was a Facebook group, and she was like, "Oh, are you going to go join the protests?" I was like, not really. I have class. I have stuff to do. So I was definitely aware of them from the beginning. And, yeah, I think everyone was.
Okay, and speaking of Facebook, most of the revolution was actually organized on the internet. Did you notice activity on Facebook, groups, friend statuses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, no one has ever been under the illusion that people in Egypt supported the regime. So all of my Egyptian friends always are making comments about the regime. Egyptians tend to be very political, especially the highly educated ones. But especially around the time of the beginning of the protests, my younger Egyptian friends, especially the ones that were in Cairo, were posting statuses about encouraging people to join the revolution or to join what was at the time a series of protests. So,
okay, so in hindsight, this might be a little hard to tell, but do you think that the people who were involved in the revolution, they knew immediately the significance of what they were involved in and also the possible outcome, like what that would mean for Egypt?
No, I actually think that most people didn't think that the effect of the protests were going to be that serious, especially our program director, who is Egyptian. She came to us and said, I'm pretty sure these will blow over. There have been protests in the past. I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal. You'll probably... you have a day off because the protest started on a day called, the police holiday. It's a holiday for the police, right? So people get the day off. It's sort of ironic because the police are infamous for, torturing people, arresting without cause, etc. But anyway, we had the Tuesday off for police day, and she said, after police day, you'll return to school, everything will be fine, it'll be no big deal. So I think the general consensus was that not much would come of these protests, and only when the protests continued, and on Friday when things started to get violent, people started to burn government buildings. I believe a lot of the police stations were firebombed. Only at that point did people start to take these sorts of actions by the people more seriously. And only then did even my director had a change of attitude. She came and, she told us, well, actually, the Egyptian people are very patient. They've been waiting for this. This is, will effectively fight to the end. And I think at that point I started to realize that this was probably going to be something with long-term effects, or at the very least, what had happened up until that point was unprecedented.
Mm-hmm. And was your director Egyptian herself?
Yes, she was an Egyptian citizen, British Egyptian, but ethnically Egyptian.
Okay, so she became involved and enthusiastic about the protests as they went on as well? Or?
Yeah, I think she had always had a level of enthusiasm about the protests. I think she had joined them from the beginning, but I think probably as the popular sentiment began to build and, people became more energetic about the protests, I think that was the point at which she decided, or at least she herself began to believe in the power, the effective change that the Egyptian people could make.
Okay. So what was the time period that you were actually in Cairo, from Tuesday for your friend's birthday party to...
Well, I was in Cairo, I believe, on Monday.
Okay.
I think that was when I got back from Cairo, because we were told not to travel to Cairo, because we knew that there was a certain threat of violence. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever people protest, there are always incursions with the police. So we always knew there was a certain threat of violence, and we were told not to go to Cairo. So I just stayed in Alexandria. So I was only in Cairo for maybe a day, and then I came right back.
Okay. Did you experience any actual revolutionary activities? What kind of things did you observe? Are there any images that stand out in your mind?
I mean, as things became progressively more violent, you saw tanks everywhere. You saw people gathering in the streets. It was something that really took up the energy of the whole country. It was very clear to us that something, dramatic was going on. And, of course, on Friday, when things began to get violent, looters began to take advantage of the fact that there were no longer police on the ground. There was a lot of, machine gun fire going off outside. You could hear people screaming. You could hear people being shot. And some of the Middlebury students did choose to go outside. even though it was dangerous for them as, people who obviously didn't fit in. They chose to go outside, and I know that they witnessed some things that were certainly very violent and very uncommon in Egyptian society.
Okay. Can you describe to me the moment when you realized, or when your director told you that you would have to be evacuated?
I think after a night of hearing sort of machine gun fire, a night of hearing people screaming, a night of sort of hearing people come up to the door and knock and being afraid that this was someone who was trying to loot us because maybe they were aware that there were Americans in the vicinity, we were told that there would be an evacuation company that would come and pick us up. And, that's sort of when I realized, oh, this is really dangerous, but also, that's when a series of other problems started. For example, the evacuation company that was hired to pick us up didn't actually come and pick us up. The evacuation company that was scheduled to come pick us up in a plane never came. I think they picked up a group from Cairo and then left for Athens, and so we were stranded for a while until a Middlebury alum sent a plane of his own plane to come and pick us up. So I think after Friday, after there was all of this violence, I think we realized that this situation was grave enough to warrant an evacuation. And at that point, it was just a matter of figuring out how to get out, since the evacuation company did not fulfill their obligations.
Right. Well, we're all very glad that you made it back. How has it been adjusting back to Brown, if I can ask real quick?
It's a little bit less excitement-filled at Brown, but at the same time, I'm very happy to be alive, and I'm very happy that the Egyptian people have had this chance to sort of have this revolution, because I know it's something that a lot of people have been wanting for years. So I really enjoy Brown, and I'm obviously happy to be here, and I'm happy to be alive. So I think that's the most important thing to me right now.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Michael.
Sure.
We really appreciate it.